Till now, we have talked about how we can edit the code in VBA, and using these codes, we can actually automate our work with Microsoft Excel. We have covered the basics of writing the code with the VBA in Microsoft Excel, and then we learnt about declaring the variables. We have talked about how we can use if condition, and after that, we have covered the loops as well. Now we are covering input and user messages. So what do you mean by the input and user messages? So basically these messages are used to interact with the user, and according to the choice of the user, the code will be executed. So why there is a requirement to use input and user messages? Users are allowed to interact with the code, makes the code dynamic. So whenever we are having the functionality of the interaction with the user, in that case, we are making our code dynamic in nature. Dynamic in nature means that user can take decision on the runtime of the code. It automates the user's experience. How? We have this input box with us. So this is the syntax for the input box. You can see here in the screenshot in the slide. This is the prompt, and then we have the title. After that, you can give a default one. You can provide a position for the X element and the Y position. Help file if you want to add any context you want to give. And then you need to have as a string variable over there. So this is the syntax we use for the input box. This provides the functionality where the input from the user can be taken in the code, and that input can be used for the further communication or for the further execution of the code. Let's see in this example, we have an example how we can use input and we can get the user messages. You can look for the screenshot here. Here, one procedure is declared with the name input sort by, and with the dim keyword, we are having two variables. These variables are user input and promote, and we are having these variables as a string type. So that is why it is written as dim user input as string. And similarly, you can see the definition or the declaration of the second variable, that is prompt. In that prompt, we are writing some text here. Enter your choice. For now, you can leave this one. When we will do the hands-on on the Microsoft Excel, then we will understand how this keyword is working. Then we have this 1 as country, 2 as team, and 3 as sales. In this user input, what we are passing? This user input we are passing to the input box promote, and then we can have the display for this user input. So after executing this bunch of lines or this code for the procedure, we will be getting output like this. So this output is showing us the choices. Enter your choice, country, team, and sales. So if you can see the next line, context for country, for team, for sales. So that is because of the keyword that is written here, VBCRLF, and we have this end and some spaces with the underscore. So this keyword is telling this window, this prompt, to have the content in the next line. This is the significance of this keyword with us. So in this code, what we are doing, we are asking a user to enter choice either for country, for team, or sales, and according to that choice, we can run our next line of set next coding context in the same procedure. Now let's run this code. Then we will understand more about this, how we can get the input and output from the user. So I'm back to my Visual Basic. So you can see the same code already written here. We are not repeating it. So you can one more time you can see about this code. We have a procedure here, user input. This time we have changed the name here. Again, we are taking two variables here, user input and prompt, and we are defining or declaring these variables as string type. And then we are having a context, a text, enter your choice, country, team, sales. And I already told you that this keyword is used to have the content or have the text in the next line. So after writing enter your choice, this prompt will be displaying a next line, and this country will be displaying only in the next line only. And similarly, we have next line before the team word. Similarly, we have next line before this 3 and sales. So you just need to make sure about where you are putting the quotes here and where you are putting this keyword for the new line. And once you have this content with you, this string with you, then you are passing it to a variable that we already defined as user input. And maybe on the later stage, we can use this input for some other execution purpose as well. So this is the significance of using prompt here. We can have the output from the user, or we can say we can have the input from the user, and according to based on that input, we can work further. Let me select this and let me run this code. So now you can see here this window with there, and this enter your choice, country, team, sales is presented here. Let me write 3 here and click on OK. So I'm back to the code. Right now I don't have any working lines, like if I select something, what should be done. In the next example, we will be running that as well. That time we will see how these inputs can be further executed. Let me make some changes here. I'm not writing this keyword here. I'm deleting this one. And after that, let me have this underscore before that. I will be deleting this keyword here. Now you can see this, and let me run this again. So this is giving me an error because of the mismatching of the codes over here. So if I write everything in one line, at that time, I will be getting this in a same line only. So if I do this part and write like this, and then if I run the code here, let me go back to the code and execute it one more time. This time you will be seeing the output, enter your choice and the country in the same line. Why this has happened? Because I have deleted the keyword given for the new line. That is why I'm getting this kind of output with my window, and this is known as prompt only, and with this prompt you can have the output according to your choice. Now our next case is to check how we can make a working based on this user input. So before covering that, let me run some few examples of a VBA code, and then what will be our agenda? Our agenda will be to club all these short programs into a small procedure or small program, and depending on the user's choices, we will be implementing the code. So how we can do that? So here we are going to talk about the code for printing a sheet, a printing worksheet, to insert some values, insert some another values, and how we can make the protection of the sheets. So these 4 cases we will discuss first, and then we will learn about like how we can ask user to choose one choice, and accordingly we will be executing the code. So out of 4 we will be running one particular choice, and then we will be executing the same procedure. So let's talk about the first procedure here, that is to print sheet. So normally if I am working on this Microsoft Excel, at that time if you want to print something, you can do this Control P and you can print everything over here. After that, what I can do, another thing is that I can work with the VBA code as well. So for the VBA code to print my worksheet is, this is public subprint. This is the name only. Print sheet, you can keep any other name as well. I am declaring a variable I as an integer with the dim keyword. So with the dim, we are having a integer value as a variable here. So that why we are taking here integer value? Because we want to store only numerical values in this variable, that is I. Now I have my for loop here. In the previous session, in the previous slides, we have discussed the loops, but we have covered only do while loop. Another type of loop is for loop. In that for loop, what we are doing? We are initializing the variable first. with this condition after the for keyword, and then we are giving the range here. Range means that like you want to run the loop from 1 to 10 or 1 to 20. So 1 is the starting point, initialization of that loop, and 20 or 10 is the count, or you can say that range for that for loop. And set of statements return inside the for loop will be executed according to the life of the loop. So if I'm saying 1 to 10, so the loop will be repeated 10 times. If I'm saying loop is from 1 to 20, the same set of lines will be executed 20 times. And this next I shows the end of this for loop. So what we are making in the changes, we are making changes in the value of I starting from 1, and it has to go from the sheet count, and then we need to have the cell values. Now in this code, what we are trying to print, we are trying to print the name of all the sheets. We are not printing any other thing, we are printing the name of sheets. So let's run the code, then you will understand the output here. Before that, let me put some more sheets here. This is sheet 1, sheet 2, sheet 3, sheet 4, and sheet 5. Now my cursor is at D2 point in the sheet 5. Let me go back to the coding part. So this code what we are running, we have the name of the procedure as print sheet. We have taken a variable I as an integer. Then we are running a for loop. And what variables we are using? We are using the values we are assigning from 1 to sheets count, the number of the count for the each worksheet we are taking it. And this cells I1, we are changing every time dot value. So sheets I dot name we want to print here, and then in the next I. So let me run this code and see what is happening here. Let's return to the Excel. Now in the Excel, you can see here the name of the all the worksheets are printed here. So you can see here orders, sheet 1, sheet 2, sheet 3, sheet 4, sheet 5. It is written here. Total we have 6 sheets. And why it is coming in A1? My cursor was somewhere else, because here we are using these value. I is for the 1, and this is for the row number, and this is for the column. So every time column number is 1 only, and my rows are incremented every time with the value of I. And then over there we are having the name of the worksheet. So let me change the name and then see the output, whether this output changes or not. So I'll be writing here maybe first and second. I'm changing the name of the sheets here to check how the functionality of VBA code is affected here. This is 4th and then 5th. So right now I have this code here with me. I'll save it here. Let me go back and rerun this set of lines, returning to the Excel. Now you can see it exactly. Orders first, second, third, fourth, fifth. The code is printed here for the worksheet. Let me change this to a second column now. I want to have it into the second column. Let me run it again. I'm selecting this line of code again and running this. Returning back to the Microsoft Excel, you can see here orders first, second, third, fourth, fifth. This is the output here. Let me rerun it again. So you can see these values are overwritten here. So in this way, we can have the name of all the workbooks over there into our Excel or into our active sheet, into our active worksheet. Next, second procedure we are having for the printing the value from 1 to 100. Now I don't want to go with like dragging or something. I want to print my numbers from 1 to 100 with programming. And how I can do that? This is, I have again a function name we are keeping, or procedure name we are keeping insert values. The variable we are again taking I as an integer, and using the for loop again. We are initializing with the 1, keeping the range till 100, and then we are keeping the value I to each cell, and this I will be incremented every time, and this is for the one column only. And with the next we are ending it, and this is ending that particular procedure. Let me go back and execute this line of code and see the output into Microsoft Excel. Now you can see here this 1 200 is printed over here only. How this happened? This happened with the code. Let me take it till, let me delete this first. I will be deleting this entire sheet here. Coming back to the first column. Let's try this code once more time and see are we able to do it or not. I am changing this value 100 to 50 this time to see the output here. Running this code, going back to the Microsoft Excel. Now you can see that our values are printed here from 1 to 50 as well. So every time you want to have this numbers or you want to have it into a different set, you can just copy paste this code and you can execute that at any time. Let me show you one more thing. I am closing this Microsoft Visual Basic application interface and closing this orders one as well. Let me make a new Excel here. This is a blank Excel will be there. So this is blank workbook I am taking. Now I want to print this 1 to 50 value here only in this a new sheet. Let me go to the developer tab, Visual Basic over here. That module was saved in the module 3 and now I have the code with me and in that code I want to run it again 1 to 50 so I can access the code I saved in the orders worksheet into a new workbook as well. Why this happened? Because I had declared this as a public. That is why we were going to the public procedure here. Let me rerun the statement every time, this time, and now you can see this 1 to 50 again printed over there. So this we can reuse the codes with us and that codes can be used at any time whenever you need and you can do all the execution over there in the repetition manner. Let me open that Excel workbook orders again so that we can run further statements over here. Let me return to this order sheet and there we can see what we have worked so far. This is my orders one and now in the order sheet, let me return to the Visual Basic one more time. Here you can see the code again. In that code, we have the output from 1 to 50 with us. After 1 to 50, let's have some more values here. Next, we can try that having the value with another variable. So let me run this output first and then we will understand the code. This is the third procedure we are talking about. And let me run this and going back to the Microsoft Excel. Now you can see that we have the values from 100 to 1 printed into a different order this time. Not from 1 to 100, we are printing the value from 100 to 1. And how this has happened? Here the name is given as insert values bottom. We have taken two variables here. The first variable is I as an integer. The second variable is a j as an integer. And for the j, we are having the value as 100. We are assigning this time value 100 to the j variable, which is the second variable as integer we declared earlier. And then we are starting the for loop with the variable I. And we are having the value I equals to 1 to 100. So range we are giving here 1 to 100 only. And then we are printing here in the first column, that is A column, and what we are printing here J. So this time J is 100 and after that we are decrementing this value of J to -1. So this time value of J will be 99 and after this we have already assigned. So we are running this for loop 100 times from 1 to 100 and we are printing these values from for the J, and every time this loop is executed the value of j is decremented by -1. Let me try this time. Instead of -1, I am doing -2 and let me run this again. rerunning this code, going back to the Microsoft Excel. Now, this time you can see the values here are 100, 98, 96, 94, 92, 90 so far. So, how this has happened? This has happened because we have decremented the j with the -2. I can try it with the -3 as well, -4 as well, -5 as well, -6 as well, -10 as well. These we are giving here I as an integer, j as an integer. J we are having as 100. 100 value we have used to initialize the value. You can have any other different value as well. For running the for loop, we have the variable I. For I, we are doing the initialization with the 1 and taking the range till 100. And then we are printing the value of the j. J we are decrementing by a -2 or a -1. We can do that. If I start this j with 50, in that case, we have different set of values. Let me rerun this set of lines, the procedure here. Returning back to the Microsoft Excel. Now you can see here 50, 48, 46, 44. And after achieving 0, it is going to minus values as well, negative values as well, because it has to run the code 100 times. So you can see the output till 100 here. So 100 times it has executed that for loop and this -2 and then we were able to get the negative values as well. So in that case, maybe I can decrease it to 25 so that my loop will be executed 25 times only rather than doing it 100 times. Let me rerun this code and going back to the Microsoft Excel again. So before that, I should delete these values and run the code. Going back to the Visual Basic, rerunning the code, Microsoft Excel. Let's see the output here. So this time we are at the right track, that is 50 to 2. And so we have total 25 values and we are decrementing the value of j with the -2 and starting the value of the j with the 50. So we have seen how we can print the values in the another order as well, going to ascending to descending as well. So we have printed from 1 to 50 as well and 50 to 1 as well. After that, the fourth case is how we can do the protection of the sheet. So if we are doing it with the Microsoft Excel, in that case, what we can do, we just need to do right click and click on the protect sheet. So you can provide the protection to the password or protection of the password to the worksheet. Similarly, you can do with the VBA code as well. How you can do that? You just need to initialize a procedure, that is, in this case, we are giving a name as protect WS, and there is a single line code to protect the sheet, that is active sheet dot protect. So whichever sheet is the active in the last session, that sheet will be protected here. So let me run this 3 lines, running the code, going back to the Microsoft Excel. In this case, my active sheet is the 4th. So let me check. Yes, this sheet is protected now. That is why it is showing me the option to unprotect the sheet. So if I check for the other sheets, I will be getting the option for the protect sheet. So these sheets are not protected this time. And now my third sheet is the active sheet. Let me go back and rerun the code. This has been rerun. Microsoft Excel. Now I can check for the third sheet as well. So third sheet is also protected. So you can use the line of the codes at multiple times. Nobody is stopping you. You can have the usage or access in another workbook as well. If you have assigned the scope as the public, so you can reiterate the statements multiple times and use it for the multiple processes or multiple applications. So till now we have understood that how we can use the input or prompt to get the input from the user. So we have the choices there. And after that, we have understood some 4 other procedures, that is to print the name of the worksheet, to insert the values from 1 to 50, to insert the values from 50 to 2, and then how we can protect the sheet. Now next agenda is to use these all 4 programs together and asking the user what input or what output he or she wants from the program. So let me copy this code here. I will be having this code first, the choices one, and I'm saving it here. Let me change it to some other name because this user input is already given. I'll give it here user choice. User choice is the name of the new procedure. And then what I'm doing here, I'll be having these inputs here. And in the inputs, we are asking the user to put some choices. The first choice is print name of worksheet. This is our first program. Then the second one is to insert or value from 1 to 10. The third choice will be value from 50 to 2. This is my second choice. And let's do it for the fourth choice as well. So I'm just copying pasting it. This will be fourth choice. In the fourth case, I want to do the protection of the sheet. So protect the active sheet. So these all four cases we already discussed. Now our agenda is to club all these four programs in one single program and asking the user what program or which program he or she is willing to execute in one go. So let me run these lines first to see that these lines are working properly or not. So we have the values with us. Enter your choice. 1, print name of worksheet. 2, value from 1 to 10. 3, value from 50 to 2. 4, protect the active sheet. I'll be clicking on OK. Now, the next case is to put some if-else condition here. So my condition will be here. Let me copy some other code as well. This is the how we can use the if-else code here. So now you need to make sure it should come above the ending of the procedure, that is end sub. Now, if the user input is 1, in that case, the one case is printing the name of worksheet. I'll go back to that code. So my code will be here. Let me open this and printing here. So if the user input is 1, in that case, we are having an integer, running the for loop, and then printing the sheet name, the worksheet name. We just copied the same procedure which we already discussed in the user input 1. Else if we have the user input 2. 2 is from printing the value or having the value insertion of the value from 1 to 10. So let me copy that code as well. So this code again we already discussed here. Similarly for this is for the user input 2. So if a user is choosing the value 2 for the 2, in that case we will be having a integer again. This integer is already given here, I as integer. Let me delete this one because I is already declared one more time already in this program. And then for loop I to 50, and then we are printing here value. Let me run these values first and then we will come with other values as well to check our working of our program here. So this time I have the code for 1 and 2. I'll go with the 1. I'll click on OK. So this is a error here. So this is we are working in a protected sheet. So let me go back to the Microsoft Excel and let me make the changes to this is a unprotected sheet. This is again a unprotected sheet. This grouping has done. Let me do ungrouping. And here this is a unprotected sheet. Second is also unprotected sheet. Third is a protected sheet. Let me make it unprotect. Fourth is also a protected sheet. Let me make it unprotect. And fifth is also a unprotected sheet. And let me come to a new sheet. There we want to see all the outputs. Now I will be again executing this. This is my first choice. So first choice was to have the values for the sheet. Yes, it is working very fine. So we can have the name of all the workbooks here. So our choice is working very carefully. Let me run it for the second choice as well. Now I am putting here 2 in this box here. I'll click on OK. returning to the Microsoft Excel, and we have the value from 1 to 50 as well. So our two cases are working very fine. Let me try it for the third as well. Third, in case of third, we want to have the value from 50 to 2. So let me copy that code to have a opposite range in another order. From ascending to descending, we are returning. So this will be for the choice of the third. So if a user is printing 3, in that case, what we need to do, that we are putting here in through the code here. Now you can see here, and in the case of the else, or maybe I can go with one more choice because we have the value for 4 as well. So I will be writing here, else if user input is 4, in that case, what should we do? We need to protect something. We need to protect the sheet. So our single line of code is active sheet dot protect. So this is my output here. In the case of the else, let me give a message box. This is used to give a output here. So this is a new case which we have not talked about yet. We have talked about how we can take the input from the user. Message box is used to give the output to the user. In that message box, what we are passing, enter a valid choice or try again. So this is if a user is entering something apart from 1, 2, 3, 4, he or she should be aware about the things that allowed choices are 1, 2, 3 and 4. If he or she is entering something changeable output, in that case user has to try again with the choices. So now let me run my complete code and see how our program is working. So now this is print name of worksheet, we already tried. Second choice, value from 1 to 10, we already tried. So this is 3. In case of 3, we have the values from 50 to 2. It is working very fine. And let me rerun the code here. Fourth choice is to protect the sheet. This is for the sheet 1. Let me go to sheet 1 again. So this time my sheet is protected only. Let me make it unprotect. So I have seen that my all 4 choices are working very fine. If I enter something apart from 1, 2, 3, 4, what will happen in that case? Enter a valid choice, try again. So my all the inputs are working very fine. So we can take the input from the user, we can give the output as well. So let's revise one more time this program. We have a procedure here, user choice. We have taken some variables here. Then we are giving a prompt here to enter a choice or to get a choice from the user. And we are keeping that choice into a variable user input. Then we are checking that user input with if condition. That is, if user input is equal to 1, then we need to run this set of statement. This we already discussed. Else if is another else, and if combination of else and if is known as else if. There also we are comparing it with a new condition, and that new condition is user input is equal to 2. In that case, these set of statements will be worked here. Then we have else if user input for 3, user input for 4, and the ultimately else we are not having any condition over here. So if all these 4 condition fails, in that case, one output will be given to the user to make him aware about that the enter choice is wrong. That is, enter a valid choice and try again. So we have understood how we can take input from the user and give output to the user. So why we are using this input and user messages? Users are allowed to interact with the code, makes the code dynamic, automate user experience. How we can do that? Input box. This is the input box is given here with the syntax here from title, default, exposition, y position, help file, context, and as string. After doing this input and user messages, there is another one more example or one more application we can say with the VBA, that is handling errors. So VBA is extensively used to handle the errors. Errors like that Message box is used for handling the errors. Give information to the user about the error. Get next steps from the user. So one example is given here. The example is that we are doing some procedure here. We are asking a user to enter the choices here. In that choices, what we are taking here, we are giving this user input as with the message box, please enter a valid integer. So in the similar cases, whatever the error we think that user can do, we can keep that error into a choice in the else or in the any if condition, and then we can use message box to acknowledge the user that this is an error and he or she should be aware about that, and accordingly that user should be providing the input to the code. In this way we can make the our promote or we can make our program more interactive into the nature. So let me rerun this code here. The code is given here, or we can type any new code as well. So this is the code with us. You can understand this. This is for the sort input. Now what we are having here, the same choices we have taken in the prompt, that is enter your choice. We are having country, team and sales. Then we are giving this user input to the input box, and then we are comparing the inputs with the 1 2 3. In case of 1 we are writing here country with the message box. In case of a 2 we are writing here team. In case of the 3, we are writing here sales, and the else case is to enter a valid integer or try again. So now let me run this code here. This is enter your choice. So I can enter 1. So I am getting country. Let me run this code again. This time I am putting 2 here. Click on OK. This is team. Let me run it again. 3 this time. Sales. And let me rerun this. This time I am doing 3 dot. This is an error. So enter a valid integer or try again. So this is the communication between user and the coder. So according to the choices here, we can check the output and then we can choose the same thing over there. And we can actually acknowledge the user as well that he or she entered a wrong input or output. Now we can do same thing with the string as well. Now for example, in the same choice, instead of 1, I am putting here country. So we want to make it with the country only. And this is team. And this is sales now. So we have replaced 1, 2, 3 with respect to country, team and sales. So I'll going back to the program again. This I'm running here. Enter your choice. I'm again selecting 1. So this is enter a valid integer and try again, because it has not matched it with the any if condition. That is why it is giving me this output. So let me put a country over there. I will be running this code again. Now let me write country here. In that case, I am getting country. If I write here team, I am getting the team over here only. If I write sales, so I'll be getting the window as sales. So this is according to the choices here given. So you can ask the user what kind of output or input he or she wants, and accordingly you can interact with that. So these input for the prompt message and the output with the message box is used to interact with the user and to handle the errors. And what kind of error? Let's try it with the one more example this time. So I am copying the same code here with the choices here, or let me take the same one where we are having the message boxes, and let me have this code one more time. So we will give a error here. Error is that enter your choice. Now I'll be writing here addition. This is my subtraction, and this is division. This I want to do, and user input is provided here. If user input is 1 here, in that case, let me print here addition only. And in case of 2, we are doing subtraction. In case of 3, we are doing division. And in case of else, we can write enter a valid choice here. Try again. So this will be our output here. And we can have the variable as well. So let me take the variable here. So let me take two variables here. After this input and output, I am taking two variables here, dim. Let me take here x as integer. This is my integer. And again, I am taking a y. So this time we want to do some calculation here. Y as integer here. And let me take one more variable, that is z as integer. So what we can do, we can put our output and input here only, and we can have the values over here as well. So in case of addition, I can write here z equals to x plus y, and let me give some values as well. X is equal to 10, y is equal to 20, and this is addition. And let me print this z only, and this time let me give the value of the z here. Similarly, in case of 2, what we are doing, we are having the subtraction here. So let me try x minus y only. In case of 3, we are doing division, and we are giving again output as x divided by y, and deleting this message box. Now let's try that this works or not. I will be selecting this program entirely, and the name detected, that is sort input. So we already have this function with us, this procedure with us. So let me change as calculator. We are trying to make a small calculator here and rerunning the code. Now this is duplicate declaration in the current scope. This is for, we have already declared this prompt as string. So we need to change this. I am changing this. It should be. So in this way, with this errors, we can learn that how we are making the mistakes. This is one addition. So this is 30. Our calculator is working fine. 2 is subtraction. That is minus 10. And 3 as division. This is 0 because it is taking only integer values. I can take it as in the long value as well. In that case, we can have the printed here. If I go with any other choice, in that case, enter a valid choice and try again. So we can make a simple calculator as well. In this way, you can see that how we can interact with the program here, and we can have the multiple outputs over here. So if I want to have the multiplication as well, so what I can do, I can just directly copy it. So this is so simple to add my code here. I'll make a fourth choice, and then I'll write subtraction, or I'll write multiplication was missing, multiplication. And again I can copy it one more time. This is my else if. Just I need to copy paste the same code, and I'll write here, and instead of the symbol for the division, I'll have the multiplication one with me. I'm printing the value here. Let's run the code again. This time we will try only the fourth choice, that is multiplication. So this should be printed here. Yeah, it should be given 4 here instead of 3. And let's run this output one more time. Fourth position for the multiplication. So we have the 200. 10 multiplied 20 is 200. So everything is working fine. We have learned how this input and outputs are working with us.